go for it. Um, that for us, that was the push that we needed. What would we regret not doing? And that was what ultimately made us save hard and take the leap and do the hard things, make the decisions. So we would say,
hey there, and welcome to the Outdoor Miles podcast, where we share real stories behind life on the move. I'm your host, Tom. No matter where you're listening from, if you crave freedom, travel, and meaningful stories, you're in the right place. Each week, I talk with adventurers chasing the horizon, innovators changing the way we travel, and people who live to explore the road less traveled. Whether you're an RVer, a weekend camper, or just someone who loves the open road, Outdoor Miles is here to fuel that passion and reconnect you with what really matters. So grab a cup of coffee, settle in, and let's hit the road. Today on the podcast, I'm excited to welcome Alex and Jackie. After retiring early, they set out to live a life of adventure, first sailing the seas aboard a boat, and now traveling across North America in their RV. From spearfishing in the Bahamas to hiking rim to rim in the Grand Canyon, wintering in Baja, and spending a summer in Alaska, their travels have taken them to some really amazing places. Along the way, they created OhHi, a new app that helps travelers stay connected with friends and family no matter where the road or the water takes them. We'll talk about their transition from sailboat to RV, some of their favorite adventures, and how they're helping RVers share heartfelt messages from anywhere. All right, well, welcome to the podcast. We're so happy to have you here.
Hi,
thanks.
Tom. Thank you.
We're really excited to be here.
Yeah, well, thanks for joining. And you guys are out in California right now?
We are currently in Oregon at the base of Mount Hood.
Oh, lucky you, lucky you.
It's
well,
great.
I'm
It's
out
getting
here.
cold though, so we don't really love cold, so we're ready to move to warmer climates.
Got to head back down to Baja.
Yeah.
Uh, awesome. Well, why don't we just get started? And, one of the things that I think I would love to hear, and probably some people that are listening to the podcast would, is if you can start by telling us about who you are and what inspired you to leap into early retirement.
Yeah. So I'm Alex. That's Jackie, if that wasn't obvious. The inspiration for early retirement for us came from an interest in living a really intentional life. We knew that there's a quote that Jackie really resonated.
Yeah. It's by Mary Oliver, and I might butcher it, but it's something like, tell me what it is that you plan to do with your one wild and precious life. And that really resonated with me, and really made us get to thinking about what is that? What do we want to do with our life? How can we intentionally craft this path for ourselves? And what would we regret not doing? And that really led us to early retirement as a way to adventure as early in our life as possible.
I love that quote. And, I think as, somebody who's in my late 40s, when you're younger, like you have all the time in the world left. And like every year that you get older, you start to think about, well, I wish I would have done this, 10 years ago, or I
Yeah.
wish I would have made this decision. So I think it's like, this is a really good inspiration for people that, are just kind of getting into their adulthood to kind of think about like, how do I live intentionally?
Yeah.
And, and I think you're just a great example and inspiration for that.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Thanks. Jackie really
Sure.
latched onto the opportunities that early retirement would open up. For me, I really got into the nuts and bolts of the saving and the planning. And so between the both of us, we really came up with a pretty good plan, I
Yeah.
think.
Well, who like out of the two of you were one of you the kind of the leading force behind it, or were you kind of united on that front?
Yeah, I would say Alex was the leading force behind saving money and really putting together the financial plan. We were a little bit younger and I wanted to spend money. So he had to kind of teach me how to save and encourage me for why we were saving. But really, once we could kind of cast the vision to understand what we were saving for and what that was going to enable us to do in our life, then I was fully on board. And he would probably tell you that I'm more interested in the saving and the money watching now than I ever have
Yeah.
been before, even after retirement. So it's in my blood now, and I can't I
Can't go
can't not
back.
about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that financial freedom is like something that until you experience it, you don't really understand. And, and it's I think for a lot of people, it seems like impossible to get to,
Yeah,
but,
it does.
I think you're an example, like, if you have that intention and make the steps or take the steps necessary to get there, even if it's like little by little. It's when you're there, you can't it's hard to explain how that feels.
You're right. Some people feel absolutely they just can't understand that it's a possibility, and I hope that we can prove that it is a possibility. You're right. You start with small steps, but you just make choices in your life to say, I want a little smaller house so that we can afford to save a little bit more, or you choose maybe an older car, or there are things you can do that make it more possible for people than they realize, and we hope we can inspire people to pursue it.
It's not necessarily that it's easy to save. I
Yeah.
think there are like simple parameters that you can put into place that work for you, and not everybody's are going to be the same.
Yeah.
Some people find things super important to them and they're not going to save on those things. And other people might say, I don't care if I drive an old car if it means that I can save. So it's not one size fits all. I think what we learned is that if it's important to you, there are simple steps that you can put into place. But it does require intention,
Yeah.
and being on the same page certainly helps.
Yeah, I think that intention is like the key thing, because you're not going to get there, or you're not going to feel that financial freedom accidentally. It's
That's
not, you're not
exactly.
going to wake up one day and be like, maybe if you win the lottery and you're one of those one in a billion people that do that.
Yes.
But I think, I think just that intention is really key.
Yeah. Great
Um,
point.
yeah. All right. So before we dive into RV life, I'd love to hear about your years on the sailboat and what that experience was like.
Yeah, sailing was amazing. It was also really hard. The thing when you get together and commiserate with other sailors, the common thing that everyone shares is the highs are really really high and the lows are really really low.
Now, did
You
either of you grow up sailing? Was this like you stepped into it because you already knew it, or was this a completely new
Kind
experience?
of. My dad sailed Hobie Cat sailboats when I was a kid, so I had been on a sailboat. Those are very small sailboats.
Yeah.
And Alex kind of fell into it like Alex enjoys lots of hobbies. We should probably start with that.
Right.
So once he identified that sailing seemed like a fun hobby because
Yeah.
he could use his brain and he could think about the mechanics
Yeah.
of everything.
Yeah. I also
He
grew up
loved it.
boating on
Yeah.
ski boats and tubing and fishing in southern Missouri. So I loved
Okay.
boating and being on the water. I just had no practical experience with sailing. But when you plug in that sort of cerebral part and add that to boating, like it just felt like a
He loved
perfect
it.
match.
Yeah. So
Plus, then you can live in the Caribbean. So when I told Jackie about this dream, like, hey, how cool would it be to live in the Caribbean on our own boat?
it
It's
wasn't
not a
really a hard
it's not a
sell.
tough sell on paper.
No.
But
Especially
we
coming
did
from, where'd you
start
say, Minnesota?
Missouri.
Missouri.
Oh, Missouri. Okay.
Which
Yeah.
is funny. You tell people you're from Missouri and that you lived on a boat, and they sort of look at you like, I'm pretty sure Missouri's in the center of the country. How did you sail there? And so
Yeah.
there are some really great lakes
Well, you
in
got the
Missouri.
Mississippi.
Yeah. We did do a lot of sailing in Missouri prior to moving on to the boat,
Yeah.
but really living on a larger cruise-worthy boat that
Right.
would allow us to see the coast, go to the Caribbean was really the goal. And to Alex's point, it was amazing and it was challenging and it was lovely and it was horrible and like every imaginable emotion
Every
in
emotion
between
on
there.
every end of the spectrum.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
And was that, did you set sail from down the Mississippi, or did you head to, Florida
Yeah.
or somewhere on the East Coast?
We didn't leave from Missouri, although that sounds like a really cool adventure. And taking a boat down the Mississippi is something that if we talk too much about, I might get inspired to do, kind of Tom Sawyer like. But
Yeah.
no, we decided to buy our boat in Virginia and drove to Virginia and moved aboard the boat there. And then we
Okay.
sailed up and down the East Coast and in the Bahamas and into some of the islands in the Caribbean.
Very cool. Have you guys ever considered doing the Great Loop?
Yes. Yeah, we've heard, we have some good friends that have done it. And it looks like another fun adventure. Like I think we should put it on the list.
Yeah, go ahead. And I'll interview you when you're, on the Erie Canal.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
Very cool. Well, how did, transitioning from sailboat to RV, how did
Yeah.
living aboard a sailboat prepare you for life in an RV?
Yeah, the systems on an RV and a sailboat are very much the same. You've got your own plumbing system with pressure water and batteries and solar and refrigeration. So if you've done much boondocking and are familiar with your systems on your RV,
Similar.
It's very, very similar. Tons of overlap. Some of the big differences are weather. You have to be much more in tune to the weather on the sailboat. So
Right.
you check the weather multiple times a day.
Make choices
Sailing.
about where you can go and where you can anchor based
That's
on the
right.
weather, much more so than an
Much more.
RV.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
joke that we never check the weather now relative to sailing. We do check the weather, but compared to
Yeah.
sailing, we have a blind eye to weather compared to the two.
Yeah.
Yeah. What
I
was
would
it
al
like making your first crossing from, was it Miami to the Bahamas?
Well, our very
Was that nerve?
first leg offshore was from North Carolina down the coast. We did an overnight. That was our first time losing the sight of land, and we did it overnight just because that was the timing that would arrive.
Yeah.
We could arrive in the daylight. It was incredible. It was like the dream lived and
so
realize. It was very fulfilling. It was also really scary to be out in the middle of the ocean and know that like
Yeah.
we're in charge and there's no one there watching over our shoulder to make sure we're going to be okay. We had to
You
be
can't call a tow
prepared.
truck or, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. That is, I mean, you do have to be really self-sufficient, both in terms of the systems that you spoke of, but also just in being mechanically inclined and willing to kind of figure it out. That is necessary in boat life for sure. That does feel different than when we are in an RV and we could go to a mechanic shop, or we could YouTube. You know, we didn't always have internet. Starlink wasn't really a thing when we were on the boat. So we
Right.
couldn't always look up YouTube videos to try to learn how to fix things and all of that. But anyway, we had known our boat for about, I don't know, maybe 2 months by the time we
Yeah.
did that first offshore passage. But we did a few other offshore passages. We sailed from Florida to the Bahamas, which
A couple
took
times.
between 1 and 2 days. And then our biggest jump was from the Bahamas to the Virgin Islands, or to Puerto Rico, not quite to the Virgin
Yeah.
Islands, which took us close to 6 days. And that was our biggest sailing adventure, and had all the highs and all the lows as a part of that
Some
experience too.
squalls and nothing but water. And yeah, it was quite the adventure.
Yeah. I was watching the one YouTuber, and I don't remember his channel, but he sailed from, I think it was either Washington or Port or Oregon to Hawaii.
Yes.
And it was just like being out, when you're a day away from shore, I'm sure that feels, very freeing, but also terrifying. But like when you're like
Yeah.
3 or 4 days out, I'm sure that gets pretty, you learn a lot about life, in that short amount of time.
There's lots
You
of time
do.
to sit and think.
Yes.
And you try not to get too in your head about exactly what you're doing. You just sort of
Right.
keep things moving. And to be honest, 95% of the time, it's fairly boring when nothing's going on. Just every 5% of the time, it gets a little spicy or interesting. And but
Yeah.
you just deal with it and keep moving. And my favorite quote that helped inspire me to make those jumps was, "You just sail to the horizon, and then you sail to the next horizon." And it feels much more attainable when you think about it that way.
Yeah. Small steps and, big journeys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So had you guys miss the ocean, or does RV life kind of scratch that same itch for
Oh,
adventure?
I think
miss
we
it.
miss it. Yeah, I can speak for both of us and say we miss it. There's something about being on the water. Now, I will say when the weather's nice and we're looking out over the ocean, it brings out all the feelings. When the weather is really poor and we're looking out there, we're thinking, I'm really glad we're not out there right now today.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think eventually we may find ourselves back on a sailboat.
Yeah, I think RV life scratches the itch of exploring and going new places and being on the go and all of the sort of freedom that we felt on the boat. But we do feel called to the ocean. We loved the Bahamas. There's just something that is indescribable about the crystal clear water, and just the awe that you would feel every day when you would, poke your head out of the boat and you'd be surrounded by this turquoise water. It really just felt
Right.
just amazing. So it does, we've been in amazing places in the RV. It's great to look at the Grand Canyon or sit at the base of a mountain or go to Alaska, right? It's different. But we'll probably be on the water again someday. We do find ourselves seeking out waterfront spots and lakefront
Right.
boondocking and things like that. So we're getting a little bit of the water
Yeah.
itch in the
Ha-
RV.
Having said all that, I do feel really fortunate that we in the US, we have so many places to see. We've been doing this in the RV
Yeah.
for a couple years now, and we have not even come close to seeing all the things we want to see. So we feel really lucky to be in a place with so many wonderful places to explore.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, there's places that an RV can't take you, and there's places that a sailboat can't take you. So,
Yeah.
I think you're doing a really smart thing and kind of just soaking in as much as you can.
Thanks.
Thanks.
All right. Well, jumping into adventures and favorite places, you've obviously done some really incredible things. What rises to the top of your list of your favorite things or places that you've been?
I think if I had to pick favorite adventure, I would say hiking rim to rim in a day. We did that just almost exactly a year ago. It was big and epic. Um,
A mental challenge and a physical
yeah,
challenge. And we spent the summer preparing and hiking out west to, get our feet and our bodies prepared to do that. It ended up being, I think, a little over 21 miles, maybe in,
Yeah.
God, maybe 15 hours. I
and
can't
like
exactly
6,000
remember.
feet of elevation.
So that felt like a pretty big adventure, a physical challenge adventure.
Yeah, that was a good one.
We can't forget the Bahamas. I mean, I've already kind of touched on how great the Bahamas were, but not only beautiful water, but just being surrounded by private beaches that we could take our dinghy to, and we watched more sunsets than we've ever seen in our whole life in that 3-year period that we lived on the boat. Alex
I'll bet.
really
Wow.
picked up on the hobby of spearfishing, and there's no better place. Well, I
No
don't
better place.
the water, the clarity of the water just
Yeah.
makes it such a beautiful place to snorkel and spearfish. So that was really fun for us
Yep.
to catch our food and eat the fish that he was catching. So the
Another,
Bahamas ranks up there.
yeah, for sure. It was also really cool this last winter to spend the winter in Baja and going slowly and experiencing the culture and that once again camping by the water and seeing beautiful places
Right.
there. But that was really special too. We really enjoyed that.
Yeah. And we can't leave out Alaska. That's high on the list too. We just spent this summer in Alaska, really from like May through August in the Canadian air, the Canadian national parks all the way up to Alaska. And we were able to really take our time and see all of the cities that we wanted to, stop on the Alaskan adventure. The wildlife experiences were just out of this world. We had an amazing whale encounter on a boat in Kenai Fjords National Park, and several
Oh,
other,
nice.
bears and moose, and just really, really
Yeah.
amazing experience. So, it's interesting. Lots of people will ask us this question: what's your favorite place, or what's your favorite state? And we almost feel like we have to have like, my favorite place for wildlife was Alaska, but my favorite place to go snorkeling is the Bahamas, and my favorite, natural wonder kind of national park is Grand Canyon, or we loved Utah and the national parks there. So it feels like we like every place for different
Yeah.
reasons, and it's really hard
Yeah.
to pick a favorite.
It's impossible to pick a favorite, I
But
think.
those are some of
Right.
the higher ranking adventures
That
of
sounds so cool. And I think experiences, they you can't pay to say, I want to have this experience. You have to go do it. And you don't know what you're going to get out of it. It could be fun. It could be terrifying. It could be something completely different than what you could have expected. But like you said in the very beginning, we have a short window in life, and filling them with as many experiences as we can is such an incredible life goal. And you get something different out of every one that you have.
I
yeah.
think something else that you said there inspires me to remember, like, I think the struggle to get there, like if it's not necessarily easy and you have to earn it, it just feels even sweeter too. When you put in those miles or you have those tough days, getting to a place or getting to that campsite, it just feels even more special, even though it was kind
Right.
of hard. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember. I'm not going to capture this thought, 100% correctly, but there's a lot of people out there that do, extreme activities, whether it be um, mountaineering or skydiving or base jumping, and they break fun into three different categories. You have your type one fun, which might be going to the amusement
Oh
park or
yeah.
going to, somewhere. Type two fun is where you put a little bit of effort in and you get something rewarding out of it. And
Yep.
type three fun is where you have that struggle that in the moment you don't want to be there. You don't want to be doing it. You're getting every second is a challenge.
Yeah.
But when you get to your goal and you do it, like you interpret that as fun, and that's what
Yeah.
keeps people kind of pushing the limits.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad you bring that up because oftentimes on a really hard hike, we'll check in with each other. Where are we at? Are we type one? Are we type two? So we're very familiar with that rating system.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Grand Canyon is actually one of those experiences where in the moment I was saying, "What am I thinking? I am never doing this again." And then the second you finish, you feel so accomplished that I think the next day I was like, "Okay, I'm ready to do it again." And I would have never guessed that that would have been my outcome. So, the type 2
Yeah.
fun is prevalent in our life quite often.
Very cool. Very cool. So when you drove to Alaska, and I want to ask this question because I think a lot of people, think about that. A lot of people either take a cruise to Alaska, they'll fly to Alaska,
Yeah.
but very few people think about driving to Alaska. But RVers, I think that is kind of a goal that a lot of people have. What was the
Yeah.
drive, up there like? Did you enjoy that, or were you just ready to get to your destination?
The drive up for us was, I think we prepared ourselves for it to be a bit of a slog based on what we had heard from other people. But
Hmm.
in my opinion, it wasn't so bad. Now there were some pretty good wildfires this year, and our trip was broken up by waiting for some wildfires to break. So we really had sort of some stop starts that I think maybe broke up our trip more than maybe what other people in the past have experienced. So we didn't have a
Yep.
full slog, but it was wonderful. I mean, I would say our drive and experience up was wonderful, going through Jasper and Banff and the Canadian
Yeah.
Rockies. That was a great way to start that trip, and then going through Yukon and Alaska. So I mean, the roads are a challenge. Everybody knows who's done any sort of research into whether or not you want to go to Alaska. The roads are always a challenge, but it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. Honestly.
Yeah, maybe we just had managed our expectations based on what we had heard from people. We heard to watch out for the roads. In fact, we have a fifth wheel and we have a truck camper. And
Hmm.
long story short, when we moved off the sailboat, we were like, we want a lot of space. So we got a 35-foot fifth wheel and it's very lovely and very comfortable. But we realized that we don't really want to take that to Baja and we don't really want to take
Right.
that to Alaska. And so we are now in a truck camper and we just park and store the one we are not using. Having the truck camper, I think, also helped not make the Alaska trip
Yeah.
feel so hard. I think if we were pulling
Right.
a fifth
That's a
wheel,
really good point.
it would have felt like a slog a little bit
Yeah.
more, the longer
Yeah.
miles, going a little bit slower, less places to pull off, worry about the potholes.
Yeah.
The truck camper, I think, did contribute to it not feeling like such a hard journey, also. But it is way up there. And that is a lot of miles. I don't even know how many miles, but we went from Baja to Alaska, and that felt like a really long trip by the time we
Oh,
got there.
that was your journey. You went straight through.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. It was great. Once we got up there, the hops around Alaska felt very small
Oh yeah.
compared to the journey from the lower 48 through Canada and then up all the way to Alaska.
Yeah. Now, you both have the experience in a fifth wheel and the truck camper. I know a lot of people that are the kind of at the onset of their journey, and they're trying to figure out, what do I want to get, a camper van? Should I get a travel trailer? Do I want to get a motorhome? Do you have any
Yeah.
advice for people, like how to figure out like what would be the best setup for you?
I'm not sure we're the best to give advice because we bought the fifth wheel and then we bought the truck camper. So I don't even
Yeah,
know that
we
we
didn't
know
know.
exactly what we want. But I mean I can speak and say that the fifth wheel is wonderful when it comes to sitting still and being in a place and having the comforts of home. And if the truck camper is so much better if you want to move every day or get off the beaten path or find those smaller, harder to get to spots. So I think you have to really evaluate where it is you want to go and how long you think you want to be there.
Yeah.
I think that would be my encouragement if you're trying to figure out what you want.
Yeah, we've been asked this by some people that are thinking about doing it, and it is a very personal question. I think you're
Right.
onto something there. You Before you look at the layouts and worry about floor plans, it really does feel like the best first thing to ask yourself is, how are we going to travel?
Yeah.
What are non-negotiables for us as far as comfort or size or you know, ease in hitching up, for example. We do feel like, depending on how quickly you want to move and the types of places you want to stay, that really
Right.
tends to have a bigger weight on the type of RV that is right for you
Yeah.
than necessarily
Yeah.
the size or the layout. Um,
Yeah.
I, I
And I think
think
that
that's
that's a really good point. One of the I guess if your plan is to just travel from campground to campground,
yes.
having that additional space might be nice. But
Okay.
I was recently at the Hershey RV show, and you talk with a lot of the reps from the different manufacturers, and some of these fifth wheels, they'll talk about, well, you can stay for 2 weeks off the grid, and which sounds really great, but then you have to think about, where do I take that fifth wheel
Yes.
that's off the grid? And then
Yes.
having the flexibility for a smaller vehicle or a
Yeah.
van or a truck camper
Yeah.
Yes.
opens up a lot of opportunities with some trade-offs, of course.
Of course.
Exactly.
That's
That's exactly right.
trade-offs is it. You have to really, there's no perfect RV for every situation. So you have to pick the trade-offs. I think my advice for if I could tell us when we were sort of looking for an RV, I would say, if adventure is high on your list, go as small as you feel like you can and be comfortable. Because every
Yeah.
every foot you gain, or every feature you gain, or every slide out you gain is just a little bigger. That might mean you can't get into that spot you want to get to. So you just have to know what you want to do.
Yeah, even if it's
Yeah.
equipped, like you're
Yeah.
saying, to be off grid, you can't need a 4x4 vehicle to get there if you're, pulling a fifth wheel. So
Yeah.
it is it's a difficult, um, they don't match up. Like,
Yeah.
yes, you can be off grid, but only if you can get there.
Yeah. And I always tell people too, like, part of it is like where you live and where you plan to travel. I live on the East Coast, and, there's not a lot of, boondocking opportunities available. But if you live out west, you can do nothing but boondock.
Right.
Yeah,
So yeah, that might influence it too.
Great
absolutely.
point.
Yeah, yeah. And we're talking right now on Starlink. How has having the ability to have internet pretty much anywhere changed kind of your lifestyle?
It's a game changer.
Yeah.
It's a game changer. It was just starting to roll out when we were on the boat, and we started seeing more and more boats having Starlink. But now it's prevalent, and
We
it
couldn't do, I mean, I don't know that we could do it without Starlink, or we could, but
Yeah.
we would have to be much
you'd
more
make
choosy
choices.
about where we go and where we stay. It is often that we find ourselves in places with no cell signal. And
Hmm.
so Starlink is what enables us to even just check the weather, or,
Yeah.
be in touch with family, or
Yeah.
whatever that looks like. So
Yeah.
it feels crucial to us.
Yeah. One of the funny unintended consequences I've seen with Starlink, now that everybody's got it, is the spots that used to be really great and really sought after, heavily forested and deep in the woods, now are less valuable because everybody wants that clear sky for the Starlink. So
Right.
it's funny, you can sort of choose your site based on how much do we really need good internet tonight.
Yeah. Oh, that's so true. Very, very true.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Well, that's really cool. And I think one of the, at least for me, having my phone with me, it 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 has changed the way that I travel because I do less planning. I'm not a big planner, to start with, but like, if I'm going somewhere, I don't think about directions before I go. I think about
Yeah.
it as I'm in the middle of going. So yeah, I think, technology, for good or for bad, is kind of, we evolved with it to kind of adapt
Yeah.
our traveling patterns to travel
It's
with or without
really
it.
difficult to imagine having no access to that information now. I mean, once we've had it, and
Hmm.
I'm like you. I'm not so much a planner. Jackie's the planner of the two of us, so I'm like you. I like being able to sort of adjust on the fly. But it went very quickly from technology being a convenience for travel to being what feels like pretty close to absolutely necessary.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
hard to think now that we know
Yeah,
what we can have at our
yeah,
disposal. It's hard to think about not having it.
I think one of the things that like somebody that is going on an extended adventure, maybe not doing that 1 or 2 week vacation somewhere camping, but leaving for a month or a year or indefinitely, um, having that connection allows you to not be isolated so much from your friends and your family.
yeah,
Um, and one of the things that when you reached out to me, and you showed me the project that you were working on, OhHi.
yeah,
I think that's you know sometimes maybe a consideration that comes up last in making a decision of what do we want to do, or do I want to kind of pick up and travel the world. How has traveling on the road or on the ocean and being away from your friends and family challenged you, and is that something that inspired you to kind of create this next step in your journey with OhHi?
yeah. It was really interesting when we started traveling. We found that we were always looking for better ways to reach out to friends and family on birthdays and stuff. A text never felt like enough. So I would send voice messages, or we would do anything. We'd FaceTime when we could, but at the beginning, when we were first sailing, we only had prepaid SIM card type stuff, and so data was a real challenge. So it was hard to stay connected to people back home when we first started traveling. Yeah, and when we got into the RV, that's when we really started thinking, we've got such great technology in our hands. There's got to be a better way to stay connected with our friends and family and let them know we're thinking about them. Send them
Hmm.
truly genuine connection or messages. And so we had this idea to sort of reinvent the greeting card and send it using your phone, where you could type your own message or sign it with your finger and send it from your phone. And it just felt like there should be something out there like that, and we couldn't find anything that fit it for us, and so we set out on a mission to make it.
Yeah, that's kind of the beauty of fire and retiring early is it creates space in our lives. And so
Hmm.
the idea, you mentioned early of financial independence or financial freedom, it's not necessarily to never work again or to never have to do anything challenging. It's about being able to choose what we want to work on. And so when we found ourselves like with this gap in our life, like we wish we had this thing and we have the time to make it, let's do it. And so then it
Yeah,
becomes like this passion project where you're like,
Yeah,
I have a need and I think I have a way that I can make it.
yeah,
So let's give it a shot. And that's sort of where OhHi was born.
I love it. I have an 8-year-old daughter, and I it's easy to get well, she will send me a text message now from her iPad, which the first time I got it, I was like, oh, what's going on? But you know, the things I cherish the most are the things that she'll make for me. If she creates a card for me, or she, you know, draws a little picture, even if it's on her iPad.
yeah,
Um, it, you can make that connection between her and that message, whereas kind of just words on a screen, from a text message don't do that.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
we felt that too. And not only do we feel like technology should make this easier, but it physically was impossible to find and mail greeting cards when we lived on the sailboat. So
yeah,
there were a few years where we felt really disconnected and not being able to send mom a Mother's Day card or
Right.
send birthday cards to important people in our lives. So we the hope, this was born out of the hope that not only can we make it easier and heartfelt and utilize technology to our favor, but it also really enables those of us that are on the road or can't get to the store or the
yeah.
post office or whatever, to still find a way to connect, and to your point, in a little bit more of a meaningful way than just a text
Yeah.
message.
Now, do you guys see it as also a way to not just stay connected, but kind of share the spirit of travel with your loved ones back home?
Yeah, there's something really fun about sharing a hello from, and so we look for opportunities to stay in touch with our friends and share. Look what this cool place we went today, and it those those experiences are really only special when you share them with someone else. I mean,
Right.
they certainly mean something to us individually, but they mean so much more when we get to share our those experiences with other. And so we've tried really hard to put emotion into Ohigh, and I think we've done a good job at it.
When we set out on this journey, we decided that we were going to share on social media, just the adventures of us on a sailboat. And mostly it was like, we just want our friends and family to know what we're doing. And they would say to us, like, I feel like I'm with you. I feel like I see you all the time, because it felt very one-sided, right? We were posting, they were seeing it, and we felt very disconnected from them. And
Right.
so while they felt like they were with us, it feels like OhHi gives us a way to connect from our side to them. And we've gotten some really great response from friends and family that have received the cards from us or from other people, just in that you don't realize until you get that card that it just sort of gives you this warm and fuzzy feeling. Like, you can say, so and so was thinking about me today, or they saw that I was having a hard day and they sent me a message. That doesn't happen so much through social media. We were missing that connection. And so this has really sort of made our connection through travel kind of full circle, because now we feel like it's not just one-sided,
Yeah.
and we're able to stay connected um,
Yeah.
through OhHi and the
And
cards that we
we're
get.
really interested to see if other travelers feel that same way. I mean, we see the opportunity where, because you can send these cards from anywhere at any time, it certainly feels like something travelers can use. So we hope they do.
Yeah, yeah, I love it, and I'm definitely going to be using it.
Great.
Um, can you walk us through a little bit about how the app works and what makes it different from just sending, a text or an email?
So the way the app works is you log into the app, see all the cards, all the designs, and they're there for multiple occasions like birthdays, congratulations,
Thinking of
anniversaries,
you.
friendship, thinking of you, encouragement. You pick the design you like. They all move and are animated. And then when you choose the design you like, you can customize the words on the second part of the message. You can sign with your finger. And then one of the things we're most proud of, I think, is the fact that when you hit share, it converts the card into a video that then you can text to the other person, or you can
Oh,
send it
cool.
to a DM on social. So you don't have to send it through somebody else, or the person that's receiving the card doesn't get that sort of suspicious link that says, Tom sent you a card, click here to get it. Everybody's always leery of those. We
Right.
tried really hard to make it so that you get the card as a video, and if you can text a video, you can send these cards. And so it gives people the power to share however they want, and then you can save them if it's a really meaningful special card, like something that maybe would come from your daughter. So you can save it
Yeah,
with the photos and videos you have, and you'll have it forever with those digital keepsakes.
Yeah, we
that's
really wanted to
fantastic.
try to say, like, what if the greeting card was invented today? Like, it probably wouldn't be paper. We have this technology in our pocket. It enables
Yeah.
video messaging and animation, and so the video is really the card. It's hard to call it a card, but that's the closest thing
Yeah.
that it acts as. But really, it's about the sentiment that comes through in that, and it's different than what other things that are out there, because of the video nature of the delivery, as well as the simplicity
Yeah.
of how you can send it person to person.
And as travelers, it means you don't have to go to the store wherever you are to go get it. You can send it as long as you have internet. You don't have to have a stamp. There's no post office necessary.
And
So
it's
it's
not as expensive as
it's
greeting cards are these days.
Which are like
So
$7 now.
uh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I've always choked whenever you flip that card over and you see that price. That's tough. So for us, our cards are 99 cents each, or you can subscribe for $2.99 a month. It was really important for us that they be affordable and feel valuable, and be kind of a joy to send, both receive and send. So yeah, we're really proud of the way the app works, and hope people love it.
Yeah, I love it. I love the idea. One of the things that I'm trying to do on this podcast is share the stories of people that go on these adventures, but also the creative ways that they develop products or solutions to problems that only travelers know. It's great, if Apple says, we think this is going to solve a problem for somebody, but
Yeah.
having that come from the experiences of people that have done adventures, I think means even more to us that are going to use that product.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and like Jackie said, having the space to sort of work on it was kind of we didn't expect it to sort of fall into something we would get passionate about, but Jackie's right, it absolutely is a passion project for us, and we're excited to see how people use it.
Great. And how does you could download it on the Apple Store or Google Play Store?
So yes, the app is available both for iOS and Android, and you can get to the download links by going to our website at ohhighcards.com. That's OHHI, ohhighcards.com. And we have a promo code for your listeners. If you use
Right.
Outdoor Miles, no spaces, Outdoor Miles, when you sign up, you get a free 30 days to try it out. No credit card. You just get to use it. No gotchas.
No strings attached.
No strings attached.
See if you like it. And we find that once people try it and they send it, they see how easy it is. And then they send it and they get a heartfelt response back from somebody that says, wow, that really made my day, or that brought tears to my eyes. And then that starts to make you feel good about what you just did. So we think using the app is really the power in seeing what it can do.
That's awesome. So if you're listening to or watching this podcast, definitely go to the App Store, download OhHi, and put in Outdoor Miles and get your free 30-day trial, and send your messages and your cards to all of your loved ones and friends as you're, enjoying your adventures.
Send
So,
as
yeah, we
many
appreciate
cards as
that.
you want. We love it.
So you can send as many as you want with a
As
$2.99 subscription?
in that trial, you can send as many cards as you want, and we hope you do.
Yep. And then if
Great.
you subscribe, yes, the monthly subscription is $2.99 for as many cards as you want to send.
Yep.
Awesome. I love it. All right. So we're getting towards the end of our conversation. I'm a little bit sad here because I loved it so much. But where can, obviously people can find OhHi on the app stores, but what if people want to follow your adventures and learn more about what you're doing? Do you have a home base online for that?
We do. We are on Instagram and Facebook at Where is Ajax. Ajax is a combination of our names, Alex and Jackie, and it was also the name of our sailboat. So that is the where
That's
Ajax comes from.
yeah.
But Where is Ajax online, on social media? That's where we post all about our adventures, day in the life, where we are, what we're doing.
Cool stuff we see, whatever.
Yeah.
Great. Well, definitely give them a follow. Check it out. I'm definitely going to be, keeping track of you guys, because it sounds like you're always planning a new adventure, and they keep on, getting more exciting, each one that's going on.
Yeah.
So
we do.
yeah, it was great
we do
talk.
plan to go to the Northeast. We have yet to go to that area, which is where you are. So we'll have to connect offline about some of your favorite spots up in your neck of the woods.
Definitely. If you haven't been up to Maine before, go to Bar Harbor, Acadia, Cape Cod, one of my favorite places to camp.
I'm a little
love
nervous to go there because I'm afraid it will reignite something in our soul about the sailboat again. So maybe we shouldn't
I'm sure
go.
it will. When you're downtown Bar Harbor and they have the bays right behind you, and it's just at nighttime lit up with sailboats, it's one of the most breathtaking views. And that's from the shore. So I can imagine from the water, it's even more.
It's pretty
impressive.
magical. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for having us, Tom. We've really appreciated it.
Sure. And, I like to, one of my goals for this podcast is to try and help people connect with people. I think online and in our world right now, there's so much noise. And, if you could you leave us with like some inspiration, and what's the one thing that you hope people can remember about connection and intentional living?
Oh, we would say go for it. That for us, that was the push that we needed. What would we regret not doing? And that was what ultimately made us save hard and take the leap and do the hard things, make the decisions. So we would say, whatever it is you would regret doing, go do it.
Regret not doing.
Regret not doing, excuse me.
Yeah. Take the leap. Absolutely. I think also, like, slow down. I think like intentionality and connectedness feels easier when you sort of remove yourself from the hustle and bustle and fast-paced nature of the life that we live. And our phones are constantly moving and dinging, and people are expecting constant responses from you. And a lot of people feel like they're in the rat race and they can't get out of it. And so I think going hand in hand with that is, slow down. Think intentionally about how you want to be spending your life, what you want your connections to look like, and go for it.
Go do it.
I love it. I love it so much. All right, Alex and Jackie, I was so thrilled to have you on this podcast. I hope we can do it again in the future. I'll keep track of you online. If you're listening to the podcast, follow them online, and definitely go download OhHi and get your free month trial of that. And let's stay in touch and enjoy the journey. I think there's a TikToker that says that, enjoy the journey, but it rings true for you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Appreciate it,
Tom.
Tom.